Hi, I'm Wade from Thoroughbred Diesel, and today we're going to be showing you how to install an ATS Pulse Flow Manifold. All right, ATS has sent us one of their exhaust manifolds for a 98.5 02 Dodge here, and we're going to be installing that for you today. Inside of this video, we will link you to the unboxing of the ATS exhaust manifold, as well as other videos that we are tying in with this. We are doing an Aurora 3000 turbo installation on an 01 Dodge. We'll link you to that in this video as well, and then this exhaust manifold and an intake manifold, all in one shot, trying to get all of the air lined out for this truck. So this is going to be an installation of the exhaust manifold today. We already have the turbo off of the truck. That's part of our turbo installation video. Link you to that here. And now we're just going to be installing this this pulse flow manifold. All right, so we're ready to go ahead and remove the exhaust manifold. Say a word about this here. If you're going to pull the exhaust manifold turbo off and all in one shot, you can do that. That's fine. Then separate them once you get them on the bench. It's nice to do this with the truck a little bit warmer, because you'll have a better luck with these bolts coming out not breaking. These Cummins bolts, we just really don't see a lot of breakage on these. They're very good bolts, very good quality. So 13 metric on the ones that are just normal bolts, 15 metric for the flange nut on any of the stud sides. What I like to do as well is I like to take my cell phone, take a picture of the manifold that shows me where the studs are, or where the bolts are that have the stud ends on them. And just a quick and easy thing to do, help you remember it so you don't mess everything up putting it back together. Just like so. Then you can refer back to that. All right, so preliminary work getting it out. If you got an EGT probe in here, I don't know how that happened, but you want to go ahead and remove your EGT probe. And then on your coolant line, you're going to want to remove the nut on the bolt for the coolant line, and this is going to allow you to move the coolant line, position it wherever you need it so it's not in your way. I'll show you that. Because you will have to move it to get access to those two bottom bolts. So see, that's going to give us access to these two bottoms. So now we're going to go ahead and switch off and start working through our bolts. I go ahead and do the bottom ones first. It's just what my sequence is. I'll go ahead and do all of my bottoms and then start on my tops. I do this with a hand ratchet. I'll start it with a hand ratchet and then go to a power ratchet later on. The reason why I do that is because I want to feel it, make sure that the bolt's not breaking. I want to feel everything loosening up, and then we can move to a power ratchet. So that's what we're going to do now. We're just going through, loosening up the bolts. Again, I like to start at the bottom. You don't have to do that. Do it however you want to. But it's easier for me to start at the bottom. Also, you're around the alternator side here. Really good idea to disconnect your batteries so you don't have any live power at the alternator while you're flying around it with ratchets. When you pull these out, these bolts will have spacers. You want to keep your spacers and your bolts. Unless you're changing your bolt setup, which I am not. I'm going to use my stock bolts back. All right, we're going to go ahead and remove this stock manifold. I've left my two center bolts. I'm going to remove the stud side first here. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and put our hand on the manifold. Press it, bring it out. Now your exhaust gasket's going to drop, but that's okay. We'll get them later. And you just want to sneak it past that coolant line and out. All right, like to do a little bit of prep work here before I put the new manifold on. Metric 10 1.5 thread chaser, really good idea to go through all of these threads, chase them down. This is going to give you a more more accurate torque reading that you get on your bolts when you go to torque them down, and so on. And then also with this, this is supposed to have been a multi-layer steel gasket on this block, but again, the previous owner here used some sort of cheap, I don't know what they were, fiber gaskets or whatever, thermal gaskets. So I'll have to go through, do some block work, prep that. What I'll do is I'll take this, I'll cover up this hole with paper towel, cover that up, and then whiz wheel everything. So we'll get everything cleaned up here, and then we'll cut back after we've got done. But really important to chase these threads to have yourself a good clean thread for engagement for proper torque readings. All right, we're cleaned up on the cylinder head, and we're ready to install our ATS pulse flow manifold. First thing we want to talk to you about is the bolts that are in the center of this manifold. Now, I mentioned that you're going to be using your stock bolts and spacers back. That is correct. However, on the center of this manifold, they won't go in there. So ATS has sent you 4 Allen head bolts, flat washers, and lock washers. They will actually go in these center holes here. So your 2 center pieces on the center section of the manifold, that's where you'll place these Allen bolts. So what I like to do before I hang it is I'll go ahead and put the Allen bolts in here, and then I'll start a gasket on it as well. The gaskets that ATS sends have got the little tab on them, so they hang real nicely. So I'm going to do the top one over here too. They send you 4 of these real nice Allen bolts and tell you to use 2 on the bottom. However, on the bottom one, you don't need to. It's a straightaway shot, so I'm going to use my stock bolts back, and I'll keep those Allen bolts because I'm a hoarder. So that's what we do. We just hang those 2 gaskets on there, and they're ready to go. And then we'll go ahead and put them in on the cylinder head. All right, we're gonna go ahead and set the exhaust manifold in on the head right now. It's nice if you got another hand with you just to keep the manifold stable for you while you're trying to line it up. So let's go past our coolant line here, and I'll pull it out, and then we'll move our oil line, and then just keep working it towards it. There you go. Perfect. All right, down 1. She's caught. So with your exhaust gaskets on there, they can turn all the way around. Doesn't matter, as long as you get 3 or 4 threads in on them, they'll be just fine. And that's all you want to do. You just want to get enough of the bolt in there to get it started. Then you can go ahead and push your gaskets in on each one of the cylinders and run your bolts through. You will use stock hardware back on your front 2 cylinders and your back 2 cylinders, and like I said, you've got just enough room on the bottom of this. If you want to use your stock hardware there, you can as well. So we're going to go ahead and place all of our gaskets in and get our stock bolts in. All right, once you've got your center 2 bolts and your manifold in the truck and hung on the head, what you want to do now is you want to go ahead and put the rest of your stock manifold bolts in. Now, what I like to do is I want to use a good assembly lubricant as I'm putting the stock bolts back in. This is going to get us help us with removal, later on down the road. Plus, going to get us accurate torque readings. So you can take your stock the gaskets that ATS sends with your manifold here, and just slip them between manifold and the cylinder head, and then take your bolt and get the bolt started. So that's what we're going to do on all of our fasteners here. Now, you don't want to tighten these down because this is going to get a torque spec, and it's got a tightening pattern. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get all of our fasteners in here and get all of our bolts in, and then we'll come back and show you the torque sequence. All right, now you've got all of your manifold bolts in. Time to torque. I start at the bottom and then work in a circle. Of course, when I get to here, I'll have to switch over to an 8 metric hex head, but we just work in a circle. Start at this bottom, take it to 35 foot-pounds. I think that's good. Time for your coolant holding bracket here. Now I'm going to be honest with you, this this line is a rigid line with a flexible end on both ends there. So I'm going to put this on and I'm going to show it in the video because it's the proper way to do it. I don't see a reason why you couldn't cut this bracket off. It doesn't touch anything. It won't get to where it's going to rattle. It's probably what I'm going to do, but I'm going to show you the right way to do it here. So let's do, on this, we want to do a lock washer on the back side of it. So we're going to start it on the coolant pipe side, and we'll put our nut and the lock washer on here. And we're going to leave that loose. All right. Next, we're going to do our manifold side. And we're going to put the manifold side on with bolt and a lock washer, and we're going to just push this back until we can get our mounting bolt started. Right there, and lined in that way, what we can do there is go ahead and take a ratchet and wrench and go ahead and tighten everything down, and that should draw it in to place. Just kind of let it tighten down there naturally, and that gives us a good base. And then you want to make sure that the underneath the line is going to clear the underside of where your turbo is going to mount. So, you know, that's really it. Show you another feature of this manifold right here. This is drilled and tapped 1/8 27 MPT for a EGT probe. So if you want to do that, it's already there, ready to go on the ATS manifold. So that is installing an ATS manifold on a 24 valve 5.9 Cummins truck. So now, with inside of this kit, you get the hardware to mount the turbo to the manifold. But while we're shooting our turbo installation video for ATS, that's going to be the part that you will have to click back into this video to get you over to the turbo installation. So this is exhaust manifold installation from ATS. Be sure to check out our Aurora 3000 installation video on a 24 valve as well. Thanks for watching.